Have you noticed how silence started feeling uncomfortable without you realizing when it changed? You stand in a checkout line and reach for your phone within seconds. You sit at a stoplight and feel the urge to fill the gap with noise. You walk into a quiet room and automatically turn something on. You lie in bed with nothing playing and your mind starts searching for distraction. Not because you need information, because you do not want to sit with unfiltered thought. Here is what most people never realize. The silence you keep escaping is the same condition your brain uses to repair itself. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." This is not metaphor, this is instruction. Stillness is not inactivity. Stillness is removal of interference. When noise stops, your brain does not become empty, it switches into processing mode. This is where emotional pressure begins organizing. This is where scattered thoughts start connecting. This is where your internal direction recalibrates. This is where unresolved tension finally gets examined instead of avoided. Your discomfort in silence is not weakness, it is withdrawal from constant stimulation. And whether you notice it or not, your brain is either being shaped by constant noise or rebuilt in moments of stillness you keep interrupting. Most people believe peace comes from adding something new. Scripture shows peace often comes from removing what blocks processing. Your brain was designed to alternate between input mode and processing mode, but most people now live in permanent input mode. Every notification adds new signals, every video adds new thoughts, every sound delays internal processing. When input never stops, integration never happens. When integration never happens, emotional pressure accumulates. This creates mental pressure people call stress. But stress is often unfinished processing. Stress is what happens when the brain carries open loops too long. Stillness activates the opposite state. When external input drops, your brain begins sorting what already entered. It starts deciding what matters and what does not. It starts weakening thoughts that do not repeat. It starts strengthening what you return to. It starts removing mental clutter that stimulation kept suspended. This is why silence often feels mentally loud at first. You're not getting worse, you are finally hearing what was already there. God designed this pattern long before neuroscience described it. Remove noise and the mind begins reorganizing automatically. Interrupt stillness and confusion stays longer. Allow stillness and structure begins forming. This is not religious language, this is behavioral instruction. God is not asking for inactivity. God is instructing removal of competing signals so truth can stabilize. Scripture treats silence as a preparation environment, not empty time, not wasted time, preparation time. When noise drops, attention increases. When attention increases, internal correction becomes possible. When internal correction becomes possible, identity stabilizes. This is why Scripture consistently places transformation after stillness. Stillness is not the result. Stillness is the condition that makes change possible. Neuroscience now describes what happens when stimulation stops and silence begins. Your brain activates what researchers call the default mode network. This is the system responsible for identity organization and emotional processing. It activates when you stop consuming and start reflecting. When this system turns on, your brain begins reviewing experiences automatically. It starts connecting patterns. It starts correcting emotional weight. It starts updating priorities. It starts deciding what deserves attention tomorrow. But most people interrupt this process within seconds. They add noise before processing finishes. They scroll before thoughts settle. They stimulate before integration completes. Over time, this creates mental backlog. Unfinished thoughts accumulate. Emotional tension increases. Clarity decreases. This is why constant stimulation often increases anxiety instead of reducing it. Silence feels uncomfortable because processing begins immediately. But this discomfort is not damage, it is maintenance. Your brain is trying to complete cycles you keep pausing. The longer you allow stillness, the more complete these internal cycles become.
The more complete these cycles become, the less pressure your mind carries forward. Scripture describes this as renewal. Science calls it integration. Both describe the same process. Remove interference, and the system begins correcting itself automatically. Add constant input, and the system stays overloaded. You can start using this system today with one controlled stillness block. Set a timer for 5 minutes and remove all input. No phone, no music, no background sound. Sit or walk, but do not add stimulation. Your only task is to allow unfinished thoughts to surface without reacting. Do not try to fix them. Do not try to solve them. Just allow them to appear. This follows Psalm 46:10 exactly. Be still first. Understanding follows later. Do this once daily for 7 days. Expect resistance during the first minutes because your brain is adjusting to reduced input. Around day 7, most people notice thought speed decreasing. Around day 14, emotional pressure begins lowering. Around day 21, many people notice improved focus. Around day 30, clarity increases because processing cycles complete faster. Around day 66, stillness becomes natural instead of uncomfortable. This is why Scripture connects stillness with strength. You are not adding effort, you are removing interference. If 5 minutes feels difficult, start with 3. If 3 feels difficult, start with 1. If 1 feels difficult, start with 30 seconds. The duration matters less than the repetition. Daily exposure to stillness retrains tolerance. Tolerance creates depth. Depth produces stability. Stability reduces emotional volatility. Repetition is what converts stillness from discomfort into recovery. The first time you sit in silence, your brain expects stimulation. The second time, it expects interruption. The third time, resistance starts decreasing because prediction begins changing. Your brain adapts to whatever pattern repeats. This is why Scripture constantly connects change to daily practice. Joshua 1:8 describes repetition as the path to stability. Not intensity, not effort, consistency. Every time you allow silence without interruption, you teach your brain that processing time is safe. Safety reduces urgency. Reduced urgency lowers anxiety signals. Lower anxiety allows clearer thinking. This is why many people feel mentally lighter after repeated quiet moments. Not because problems disappeared, because unfinished processing decreased. Silence is not solving problems directly. Silence is giving your internal systems the time they were designed to have. The more often you repeat stillness, the faster your mind enters recovery mode instead of resistance mode. Eventually, your brain begins expecting stillness instead of avoiding it. This is when silence stops feeling empty and starts feeling stabilizing. Here is the exact execution pattern you can begin today. Choose one daily moment that already exists, like waking up, sitting in your car, or lying down before sleep. Do not create a new habit. Attach stillness to a habit that already exists. Remove stimulation for 5 minutes. No scrolling, no audio, no input. Repeat this at the same time every day for 30 days. Expect the first week to feel mentally loud. Expect the second week to feel more organized. Expect the third week to feel calmer because processing backlog reduces. Expect the fourth week to feel more focused because mental clutter decreases. This follows a simple loop. Remove noise, allow processing, repeat daily. Psalm 62:1 says, "My soul finds rest in God alone." Rest follows removal, not addition. Most people try to fix mental overload by adding more information. Scripture shows recovery often comes from subtracting interference. If you want a measurable start, begin tonight. 5 minutes of stillness before sleep. Repeat for 30 days. Observe what changes without forcing results. Do not measure feelings first. Measure mental clarity first. Feelings usually follow structure. If you apply this system, type "be still" in the comments to lock the action. Subscribe if you are building mental patterns that operate by design instead of reaction.